Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm here again with another explainer video of a recent effect that I did from the Stranger Things, which is the upside down dimension. Of course, I'm going to use Nuke for this entire look development process. So let's start with the planning. So my main focus point of this entire effect were the clouds and the lightning. So I chose to shoot the entire sequence on a clear sky day so that I could add the clouds and the lightning later and tweak them according to my liking. Coincidentally, the day I got this idea, it was a clear sky day, so I didn't have to think twice before shooting. Also, I chose a time of the day that was after sunset and before complete darkness because I didn't want any direct sunlight hitting the buildings, just a hint of it. Because as per my experience doing any kind of day to night conversion, it is these harsh shadows that don't sell this effect. I wanted to show progressive build-up of this effect, so I planned 5 shots, and with each shot the effect increases, and by the 4th shot the effect is 100% all over the sequence. Such kind of a build-up is really common in production where you have to show a progression of an effect spread it over 5 to 6 shots, and usually these shots are given to just one artist so that he or she can plan the effect accordingly. I chose to slightly underexpose the shots a bit in order to compensate for the high exposure values in the sky. I wasn't really shooting Apple ProRes 12-bit 444, so I didn't have the dynamic range, so I thought that I should just slightly underexpose and get those details out in the sky. The thing is that you can retrieve good details in the shadows, but it is really hard to get details from the sky. My shooting settings were basically S-Log3 422 10-bit, and this is anyway better than shooting anything in 8-bit. Now that I shot all the shots and my sequence is ready, it is time to get on the table and start comping. So let's dive into Nuke and start the loop development process. So even before starting the comping process, what I did was I referred to a few lightning phenomena that I shot myself here in Brisbane in order to see how lightning reacts with the clouds nearby. So what I noticed is that a lightning bolt starts at one point and ends at some other point or some other cloud, and in between that entire process there is this lightning, this interaction happening with the other clouds, and that's what makes it look cool. In order to correctly look dev the effect, I chose one master shot on which I did the entire comping process and then copied that to other shots. So now it was time to decide like how to track this shot, if I needed a 2D track or a 3D track. Now since the shot moves from left to right, I had to do a 3D camera track on this one, but for the rest of the shots I chose to just do a 2D track. So the next step is finding good clouds because I was supposed to add clouds in this scene. So I think there's one amazing website called Polyhaven which has some really great HDRI clouds shot at different times of the day, and I chose one cloudy sky like that, and one sky with a few details like some puffy details over here, because I chose this cloud, this kind of a cloud, because this had some lightning directions on the clouds. Like for example, there's the sun and all the other clouds are reacting to it, and that's what happens when lightning strikes. The clouds react to it. So I wanted these clouds to have that kind of characteristics. Now in order to place these clouds in the 3D scene, it was a simple setup, just projecting them on a sphere as large as you can get. Like it was, I think, 1 million units. So, and then projecting them through your shot camera, and this is what I got. So it was tracking correctly, everything was fine, the perspective and everything was okay. And I chose to have 2 layers of clouds, and here it is. We have a luma key of the clouds, just a strong alpha, a bit of color correction here to make them red, and then merging them over here. Now, before merging the clouds, it was important to grade down the footage. So that was actually my first color correction because the entire scene happens in a dark environment. So I had to grade down the environment like by a stop maybe, or you can go as down as you want. And yeah, we'll come to the interactions later. And these were my clouds. I'll be overing my plate later on after I do all the effects. So yeah, this is how the clouds are comped in the scene. Now for the lightning bolts, what I did was I split them into two sections, secondary and primary, or maybe secondary and hero lightning bolts. Secondary were the lightning bolts that were more in the background, and hero ones were just four lightning bolts that were more in the foreground and they were interacting more with the clouds. I wanted to make them feel as if they're coming from the clouds. So for that, what I did was there's a plugin in the in Nuke which is called Tesla, which basically creates lightning bolts for you. So what I did was, in order to make the system as procedural as I can, there are two main parameters in the plugin in the node that I could animate and create different variants of the lightning bolts. One is a retract feature over here, and the other are the branches. So basically I wanted them to go on and off at different time intervals, and I also wanted the branches to go random at each retraction and expansion, so that I have multiple lightning bolts with different branches and at different retraction points. So this is how one of the example looks like. So I have a few with more branches, few with less. So this kind of happens throughout my frame range. And the next thing is just merging them on a lat long map and time offsetting and transforming them according to the cloud placement that I had done earlier. So one comes here, the other comes here. So all of these lightning strikes are happening in the background, and I get different variation of lightning bolts with just tweaking those two parameters. Now it's time to do the look dev of the lightning. Since the lightning bolts were red, what I did was I graded them to red and then did a few exponential glow setups on top. So in order to make the lightning bolts look less flat and more interactive with the clouds, what I did was I did a luma key of the clouds, merged them together over here, and then stenciled them out from the lightning using a loglin method. So this is the impact that I get. It feels like they are interacting and fading off and on, and they're coming. It makes us look like the lightning bolts are coming from the clouds, and then just merging them back. So now if you see here particularly, it feels like this lightning bolt is going inside the cloud, coming out and then appearing. So for the primary lightning bolts, the only thing that I did separately was cutting the source and putting that into a separate layer called roots. So if you see here, this lightning bolt, this comes here, and then this goes into a separate layer called roots. And when I call this from the scanline render, after the placement, this is what I get. This I used in order to show the interaction of the source with the surrounding clouds for just the primary lightning bolts. Now let's come to the interaction part. It was a fairly simple setup. What I did was merged both the lightning layers, primary and secondary, did an exponential glow, multiplied them with the clouds here. For some of them, for the secondary one, I just multiplied them with the secondary, second layer, which was the puffy clouds, because they already had that kind of interaction in them because of the sun, and I wanted that amplified using my lightning bolt setup. So I multiplied them over here, slightly added a bit of intensity, and then plussing them over like that. Now let's come to the interaction of the primary lightning bolts. What I basically did was I called the root layer here. I did the same exponential blur setup like that, and I added that. I multiplied it with the cloud layers, stenciled the clouds from the back, and added them over here like that. So this kind of creates a source, and along with the source it also creates the interaction that lightning bolt has with the clouds, with the cloud that it is originating from. And here comes our primary lightning bolt. Primary lightning bolt is the same setup, stenciling out from the clouds in a loglin sandwich and then adding them back. I also added some interaction with the sky itself, and that was actually my first layer. that is here, if you see. Now comes the setup where I do a plate over, which is I copy pre-melt my plate, my foreground, and then add it back. So for that, I had to create a lot of like maskings on the buildings using the image plane node. I added some gradation on that as well. Basic red grade. A bit of interaction here as well. In order to show the impact of the lightning bolts on the buildings. Then copy pre-multing with an edge push in order to get rid of the white edges. A bit of light wrap, because there is one lightning bolt which happens at the very back, and I wanted to show some kind of light wrap happening over here. So this one. So this has a nice backlit feel to it. In order to enhance that further, I added a light wrap here. Next is an interesting one. What I did was, since I was shooting at my terrace, and my terrace has a pool, and obviously the water will reflect a bit of the lightning that is happening in the sky. So my primary lightning bolt over here that reflects in the pool, so that this is a mini setup of that. So yeah guys, this is the entire lightning bolt setup in order to replicate the upside down effect from Stranger Things. So guys, this is the entire breakdown of this effect. If you have any suggestions, please mention them in the comments. Also subscribe for more VFX content like this. Until then, thanks for watching.